Hello, I am here today to go through the notes that I have made on House of Leaves. I'm not going through all the notes I have ever written on this because that would take a long time. If you look at what I have here, and I have 62 pages typed up as well. So today I am just going to be working on the introduction and the author page and that kind of stuff. And each chapter is going to have its own video to make this easier to find, I guess, find what you're looking for if you have a question. So we're just going to begin with the cover itself. So House is actually, I should say that there's going to be spoilers throughout. So just a heads up, yeah, there's going to be tons of spoilers. Right to the last page of the book. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't finished reading, probably don't watch. So yeah, House of Leaves. House is in the blue font there, but down here we have it's written a novel, and that is in the purple color, which is Pelafina's color. So that's an interesting note in regards to like authorship, right? And then we have the obvious thing of where the book is bigger than its cover. Literally here. Okay, so show you here. I'm going to talk about an edition that is not mine. So on the inside cover of the hardback remastered edition, there is a string of hexadecimal codes. If you have that copy, and if you decode it, it's actually an audio clip from Poe's Haunted. So Poe is Mark Z. Danilevsky's sister. She did the album Haunted. She did the album in conjunction with Mark Z. Danilevsky and House of Leaves. So that is interesting. And also in regards to that, the first ASCII word in that hexadecimal code is form, followed closely by the word AIFF. And if you type all that out into a hex editor and save it as an AIFF, you get a 2-second sound file of Poe singing Johnny Anger from her song Angry Johnny. So that's really cool, kind of cool. So this is a collage. It's dealt with later in the text. These are some of my personal notes that I kept going on about, and as you'll see, my book is well read. But if you also note the way the book is bound, I don't know if it will come across on camera clearly, but it is bound kind of like looped, so pages are looped together and bound that way. But our author's page right here, and that's the reason why it's so easily ripped, is not bound in with the other pages. So just an interesting thing to note. Yeah, so we have here our title page, and as you see right here, I added my own authorship to the book. I feel like we're encouraged to do that. But this font used on this page is Dante, which is the same font as Pelafina's letters are written in, so it's Pelafina's font. And there's interesting things about the Dante and links to like Dante's Inferno, a descent into a hellish place. Okay, so we're going to move on past the contents and all this. Forward. This is not for you. And we're going to go into the introduction. One thing that I was noting a lot were misspellings, such as a lot, and words that were underlined, such as fate and full. I haven't fully developed a theory on what those all are, but there is something I noted throughout the text. Okay, and then on this page, we get the discovery of Zampano, the introduction to Zampano, and his Johnny asks who knows where this name really came from, because they're wondering if it's a nom de plume or a nom de guerre, a name that you got, a name that an author uses to hide their real name, or a name that a soldier uses to protect their identity as well. So this is actually the nom de guerre, is the first reference to Zampano as a soldier. We get further references throughout the book to him. And it's interesting also here we get, if you look up the name Zampano, it was actually a character in a film called La Strada. And that was a film made by Fellini. And on page 545 of the text, we get a possible reference to Fellini, or Fellini, where we get the words fell in I. So, yeah, there's that. And there's obvious references such as Thumper tattooed on Thumper to, follow the white rabbit. Okay. Move over to this page, page 14 in the introduction here. So we get the reference to Hey Hoss up here, which is what Lude calls Johnny. And there's different meanings around what Hoss could mean. It could be a reference to the character from Bonanza. He was a big, friendly guy that was kind of like his character. It could also be used as a slang term for horse. And we do get a poem on page 564 from Apollinaire, which is a poem about a horse. Or is it a poem about Johnny? Okay, on this next page here, we get our first reference to the cats. The cats here. And it's interesting that his other series, which was written well after this, is about a cat as well. And then we also get, not too many pages after this, page 18 here, another reference to, of course, Curiosity Killed the Cat. So these cats go missing after Zampano's death. They're also referred to as shades on page 77. There's a reference to the Black Cat by Rilke on page 87. So cats are an interesting thing to look at. I'm not going to say important, but they are very interesting, and I think Mark C. Danilewski rather likes using cats in his books. Yeah, so I linked here on this page cats and the gouges that were found in the floor of Zampano's room with the monster. And then I did write MZD likes cats. Okay, on to the next page. And this is another thing that I've was noting as well, was that we have specifically on this phrase, I should have underlined it. I should have been better at taking notes in my actual note here. But we have the phrase, the sentence directly pulled from here, and to use one of those big words I would eventually learn in the ensuing months, deracinated details of Zampano's life. So deracinated means to pull up by roots, to force people from their homeland, to liberate or be liberated from a culture or its norms. And this word is also used on page 145 in Zampano's work. And deracinate, I linked it back to Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida. In this excerpt here, I guess you can call it. Divert and crack, rend and deracinate the unity and married calm of states quite from their fixture. So this book is going to deracinate you, liberate you, pull you up by your roots. What you're expected to do going in. And we get our first note of an reliable narrator. Yeah, so it says isn't entirely accurate, though. Don't be misled into think I'm not trying to be accurate. So we get our first hints right in the introduction. I made notes here about how the monster is the work. One thing's for sure, even without touching it, both of us slowly began to feel its heaviness, sensed something horrifying in its proportions, its silence, its stillness. The monster is the work, I decided in that note. And just other things I thought about while thinking that I don't think are important enough. You can read them on the page, but I don't think they're important enough to include in other notes. I didn't really write much about these pages. So we'll move on. Again, these pages, I didn't write very many notes. I'm seeing here now Carrion Dawn for vultures, and vultures were a big feature in that picture in Naviton's life. So I'm just going to actually add that to my notes. And I'm going to add a link to my my notes on a Google document. Okay. So here we get the revelation that Zampano was blind, and Zampano's heart had been broken. But by who? We have our theories. This note is in regards to this page, but we're going to talk about page 22 first. We have the word prolix on here. This was another odd word. Pointlessly obtuse, prolix, however you say it, which means to have great length or dwell on trivial details, which I think encapsulates this book very well. But some of us like that, some of us don't. I'm someone who does really like that. This word is also used by Pelafina on page 633 in her letters. And this is the beginning of these kind of strange words that were used in P's, Pelafina's codes and Johnny Sharon's notes. So we see with the word deracinate, there's the link between Johnny and Zampano, and then now we're getting the link between Pelafina and Johnny Truant. And these are words that stick out to me, like they're not everyday words that you use, right? You don't go around saying prolix. And if you do, people probably think you're obnoxious. But that's why they stand out in the text. And then on this page, we get a list of names in regards to a Zampano. So I wrote them down, and I was trying to figure out what links all these names together. So I'm just going to read this note and then read another conclusion that I came to. So Beatrice is French. She's Dante's lover in his Divine Comedy. So there we get a reference to Pelafina again. From that time forward, love quite governed my soul. It's also an Edgar Allan Poe story. Actually one of my favorite Edgar Allan Poe stories, where the narrator has monomania. He is obsessed with Beatrice's teeth, with her mouth. So we have Poe, which is the nom de plume, nom de guerre of the artist name of Marksy Danilevsky's sister's band. That there's that link there. And I emphasized mouth because I was looking for references to body parts in the text as well. And the meaning of the name is voyager and blessed, and she who makes happy. So Gabrielle is also French, means woman of God, or God is my strength. Gabriel was an archangel, defender of Israel, and he's the one who tells the Virgin Mary about her conception of Jesus. So there's this link of Pelafina and the question of Johnny's father there. So a reference to the Virgin Mary, maybe. Some of my things may be a bit reaching, but that's part of all the fun of it. Anne Marie, again, French. Anne means favor and grace. Marie means bitter and beloved. Anne was the name of Jesus' grandmother, and Mary, or Marie, was the name of Jesus' mother. So more religious references throughout the book. Dominique was also French. This is a unisex name. It means of the Lord. It's the main character in The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, which was quoted as one of the more bizarre characters. And she believes the values she holds cannot survive in the real world, so she turns from those values. You can make an argument for the characters that do that. Then we have the name Elaine, which is from all these different places: Hebrew, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish. And it means my God has answered me, because L equals God. In the Latin, this name would be translated as Eliana, Elianis, from the Greek Helios, which means sun. And it's also could be related maybe to Helen of Troy, because Elaine and Helen have similar origins. I'm going to cover this part up because it is a spoiler. Isabel is also French, so all these names are mostly French. She was the mother of John the Baptist. Comes from the name Elizabeth. Isabel comes from that name. It means pledged to God, or God is perfection, so more religious references. And then we have Claudine, which come from Claudius, which means crippled or limping, or Clausus, which means shut or closed. So we are, I think, kind of like Claudine. We are crippled and limping through this text. Or Johnny hurting his toe. He is limping through the text. Navidson has a limp and needs a cane by the end. So there's lots of references to that. However, this could have meaning there, but I think it's more direct meaning. And these are the names of the hills in the Battle of, pardon my pronunciation, Den Ben Phu, which was in the First Indochina War, in the prelude to the Vietnam War. The French Foreign Legion fought in this battle, and it's implied that through the text that Zampano was a veteran of some sort, so maybe it was the Vietnam War. Yeah, so there's that. And then I'm just going to go over to this page. So I have a list of my misspelled words, and then we have underlined words. And then this phrase, again, I don't speak German, so muss es sein, which means, it's German, means do I have to? And this could be from a few sources. It could be from The Unbearable Lightness of Being, by Milan. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to say the author because I might get it wrong. But it's from The Unbearable Lightness of Being, where man debates whether to follow his wife to Prague. And he says, es muss sein, meaning that he has to, that he is fated to follow his wife. So if you follow the theory, perhaps that Pelifina and Zampano perhaps are married, or if even just looking at the Navidson record, looking at Will and I'm horrible with names, and I love this book. I can't remember the name of Navidson's wife. I am so sorry. Karen. Is it Karen? I want to say Karen. So yeah. So that is interesting in that it's reversed in House of Leaves, and that Karen is the one who follows him into the house, to Prague. Yeah. Or this could also be from Beethoven's String Quartet number 16 in F major, Op 135. I don't know what Op stands for. I'm not a musician. The last movement, and that is called The Difficult Decision. That part of the song, that part of the composition. And 3 notes are actually marked as muss es sein. And it's rumored to be this song, and that note is rumored to be about Beethoven's feeling of encountering the great eternal, you know, the afterlife, living this being faced with, you know, mortality versus immortality. And I think we have that struggle here, with a lot of the characters seeking immortality and coming face to face with their own mortality. And then a lot of references, again, as I said, religious references, and perhaps to the afterlife as well. So yeah, that's where I'm going to stop this video. Let me know any of your thoughts, any notes that you've made up to this point. I mean, we're not even on page 1 of the text. I'll flip the page to the Navison record, and there's page 1 of the text, but I'll do that in a separate video. So thank you for watching.